I'm Bill Bullard with RCAF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Now, whether you're a mom or dad buying protein for your family, or a cattle producer wanting to stay profitable in the industry you love, it's important to learn what's happened to our nation's beef supply chain and how that's impacting everyone who raises cattle for beef and everyone who eats beef. Congress held 2 hearings to examine the beef supply chain and what's going on in the market to cause record beef prices for families and low cattle prices paid to America's cattle producers. Both hearings included testimony from cattle producers. But in both hearings, a cattle producer was ominously missing. In the first hearing held by the Senate Agriculture Committee, Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer announced that none of the cattle producers in her state that were encouraged to participate as witnesses would agree to put themselves out front because of possible retribution by other market participants, which was described as an unfortunate reality in today's cattle market. Senator Fischer rather calmly explained that this fear of retribution exemplifies the imbalance in market power between independent cattle producers and the concentrated beef packers. Now, in the second hearing held in the House Agriculture Committee, Chairman David Scott said the 4th rancher who was supposed to testify chose not to participate due to intimidation and threats to the person's livelihood and reputation. Now think about this. Elsewhere in the world where democracy does not exist, citizens fear their government. But here in our free society, there are independent cattle producers fearful of the participants in the highly concentrated and corporatized market structure, the market structure they depend on for their very livelihoods. Now this is a sad commentary for America, that independent business people in America are being intimidated or threatened for telling the truth about what's happening in the markets upon which their livelihoods depend is revolting and intolerable. Suddenly, what was once a somewhat obscure topic for many Americans, that is, the need to reform the market structure to restore competition to the beef supply chain, has now taken on an entirely new and elevated importance. The topic now impacts everyone. It now involves everyone's independence, liberty, and freedom. The need now is not just to reform the broken market. No, now we must restore liberty and freedom to citizens who have been threatened and intimidated by the overseers of today's concentrated and consolidated beef markets. Now, House Agriculture Committee Chairman Scott said he was looking into this unthinkable matter, and then he proceeded with his hearing. And for his hearing, Chairman Scott also invited the CEOs of the 4 largest beef packers that together control 85% of the nation's fed cattle market. The chairman explained what's wrong with the beef supply chain this way. He said consumers are paying $7 per pound for beef, and beef prices increased 18% this year. He said many cattle producers were selling their cattle at a loss. And he said the 4 largest beef packers were earning record profits, which were at $15 billion last year. But in their testimony, the beef packer CEOs attributed the higher consumer beef prices, lower cattle prices, and their record profits largely to the COVID-19 pandemic, which one CEO explained caused a labor shortage that reduced the packers' ability to harvest the large supply of available cattle. But Chairman Scott produced a chart showing how the spread between cattle prices and beef prices abruptly widened, not just after the 2020 pandemic, but rather 5 years earlier than the pandemic, in 2015. The chart showed the dollar difference between cattle prices and beef prices skyrocketed from $40 in 2015 to 4 times that, nearly $160 by 2021. Chairman Scott then asked each of the beef packer CEOs if they had an agreement with the other packers to cooperate on issues impacting supplier prices. 3 of the CEOs answered no, and 1 answered, "Not that I'm aware of." But Chairman Scott pressed on and explained that the abrupt increase in the spread between cattle prices and beef prices cannot possibly happen in a competitive market. The beef packer CEOs, however, disagreed and pointed to supply, consumer demand, pandemic disruptions, and geopolitical events as the factors driving consumer beef prices up, cattle prices down, and increased profits for the packers. One CEO argued that we're seeing from the sudden shocks in the economy is expected. What do you think? For certain, we know this is no longer just about markets. No, this is now a fight for everyone's freedom and liberty to live and work without fear from overseers of the highly concentrated and corporatized beef market in America. So join with us in this fight. go to our website at r-calfusa.com. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.